Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the John Mayer Gear Lounge show. I'm Justin, joined today with Ahmad. And for today's episode, we have a really interesting video that we're going to be doing. We thought when Ahmad and I were talking that there's so many people who ask, I have this amount to spend. What pedal can I buy? What can I spend to get a John Mayer like board? Why don't we each give our own opinion on a set of budgets with 5 pedals to build a John Mayer board? So it's kind of a challenge. Ahmad and I actually have no idea what the other one has picked going into this video. We just wanted to have some surprise element to it, and as well, again, have 2 different opinions where, hey, this is just my opinion, he's going to give his, and not one's going to be better than the other. It's just kind of, a fun little challenge for us to build. So again, the rules are pretty simple. You have a John Mayer board that needs 5 pedals on it. There's 4 categories. You have your low budget with $400. You have a medium budget with $800, you have a high budget of $1,500, and then you have an unlimited budget. Now, this unlimited budget is more within reason. You're not going to strap on a Klon or an MK1 Octopus or a Smoky Signal, thousands of dollars in pedals right there. That's not realistic, and that's not what we want to do, but we thought it'd be fun to kind of, if you had a relatively unlimited budget, what would you throw on it? And you might be sitting here thinking, oh, well, for a low budget, $400 is a lot of money. And it is, but in order to get 5 pedals on the board, you can't really go lower than 400 in order to fit 5 on. So that's kind of where we're going with this. Oh yeah, I struggled. That took me the longest to do. I worked backwards when I designed this video. I went totally backwards, and that low budget
I went the opposite than you. I started low and went high. So that's interesting. We took a different approach.
Yeah, well, for me, I tried to start low, and I was totally stumped. It took me forever, so I was like, hey, screw it. I'm going to go and figure out the other way around, and then maybe that'll get ideas as I'm doing research. So, again, that's the premise. All prices are in American. We have kind of our totals for the end for each budget as well for what we spent. Without further ado, Ahmad, did you want to go first for the low budget?
Yeah, and so I'll preface this by saying, so there's kind of like two camps you can be in with, trying to chase his tone. I think no one here, no one in the group is saying, we all admire his tone. He's, in my opinion, got the best Strat tone of all time. You don't need the exact pedals to get it, but there are certain themes and certain genres of pedals that will get you there. We tend to nerd out, and we want to have the exact same thing as he's got, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's all about what inspires you to play. So I think the $400 category is pretty fun because, when I started playing, I didn't have funds for gear, and I remember it was a challenge for me to try to get the sounds in my head out of the gear that I could afford. So we're not going so cheap that you're not going to be in the ballpark. Anything that we're recommending, you're really, even at the $400 level, going to have some solid choices. So I just wanted to preface it with that. I don't know if you had some extra thoughts there too.
The spirit of it wasn't in that. It's all strong recommendations of stuff that will get you there and that we would personally back and say, this is going to be a great choice.
And that's important. So to that point, anything I recommend is going to be something I've either used or I know somebody that has used it that I trust. So for the $400 budget, this is obviously the most challenging. Nice thing about pedals, they retain their value. So you can get into this, tier of budget and then sell them and work your way up. So I've got kind of two alternatives. We said we're going to stick to 5 pedals, so that's what I'll start with. I am not going to sacrifice quality to a certain degree. So this is a little bit different than my other categories. So for the $400 one, I would actually do a Boss tuner as the first pedal, as a buffer. And I think as you get, in your pedal board building and you advance, you need buffers. Anyone who tells you otherwise, in my opinion, they don't know what they're talking about. So I'd get a buffer, tuner as a buffer. John has it on his board. That's nice, or at least he had it. And they're about $50. That's what I would, TU3, TU2, whatever you can get. That's my first one. To me, the core kind of Mayer sound is stacking, layering overdrives. So you got a clean boost, tube screamer, a Klon, and then a delay. So I would say the second pedal would be the Katana Mini Clean Boost. That can be purchased on Reverb for about $80 US. It doesn't have the charge pump of the full-size Katana, which, it's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to have, in my opinion, the Katana Mini is probably going to get you to closer to a full Katana than any other clean boost on the market. And I didn't like the exotic one when I played it. Everyone hypes that up, and I just personally didn't like it, so I'm not going to recommend it. So I'd say Katana Mini. Brian has one of those, and he likes it. For the Klon, I would go Archer Icon. I would not buy the Soul Food. I have not purchased or played a Soul Food, but everyone that I talk to about it that I actually trust their opinion does not recommend it. Justin is one of those people as well.
I've played one before, and it's not the Klon. It's not a Klon style pedal. So many better options.
Yeah, and you can get so there's two versions of the Archer. There's the Archer with silicon diodes, and then there's the Archer Icon, which has germanium, which is more like the actual diodes in the real Klon. And yep, the Archer Icon is gold. The normal one is silver. It didn't used to be the case 2 months ago, but now since the KTR hype has gone crazy, the Icon is actually more expensive than the normal one. So for the constraint of this budget, you can get, for $120, you can get the normal Archer. That's a great pedal. Buy it. For the money, it's the best type clone. It's not exact, but you're splitting hairs at that point. So get that. If you happen to find an Icon for $120, I owned and played an Archer Icon pretty damn close to a KTR. It's not identical, but it's close. It's close enough. Tube Screamer pedal, you gotta go cheap. I hate mini pedals, so I'm not, I know the Katana's on there, but that's just because I couldn't find another clean boost that I like better. But I would go TS9. You can get one for about $65 used. If you're fine with mini pedals, you can get that mini Tube Screamer. That one sounds fine from clips that I've heard. Disclaimer, the TS9 is my least favorite Tube Screamer. But heck, there's a video that I have on YouTube dialed in on my traditional clean with Brian, playing out of it, and we're running a TS9, and it's probably the best tone I've ever heard outside of John. And lastly, for the $400 budget, setup 1A is a delay, and you need an analog delay for slapback, and I would go MXR carbon copy, $80 used. That rounds up, to around $400. So you got 4 pedals that are effects pedals, and one's a buffered tuner. So tuner is $50, Boss tuner, Tana Mini $80, Ibanez TS9 $65, Archer or Archer Icon, depending on what you can get, for $120, and then the carbon copy delay for $80. And that rounds out, my first option. I have another one that, if you want to go a different direction with it, and I can go over that as well.
Mod, your first board build was really good. I liked it a lot. And
I feel like yours is going to be better, but go ahead.
No, spoiler alert though. I did not choose the Icon for any of my board builds because I knew you were going to pick it, and I didn't want to knowingly pick the same thing that you'd recommend. So this is a disclaimer. The Archer Icon is a phenomenal pedal. I got one right here. It sounds very close to KTR. Ahmad sent me clips comparing that to his KTR, and I was absolutely blown away. I just wanted to recommend a different option, so knowing he was going to choose that, I did not pick that for any of the builds, but that is a phenomenal pedal, and I would have chosen that as one of the options potentially if I knew that he wasn't going to pick it.
For the money, it's a no-brainer. It's a good pedal.
Exactly. And that's why we kind of touched on the Soul Food before. For the money, if you put a little bit more into the Klon style pedal, you can get a great pedal that's going to last you an extremely long time, instead of having a pedal that at the end of the day isn't going to last you a long time because it doesn't sound like the thing it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
So what was your other recommendation then, before I get into mine?
So this one is going to be, it's not 5 pedals, so I know that's technically outside of the rules, but again, I'm not going to sacrifice quality. Nothing I recommended here, in my opinion, is sacrificing any quality. To your point, you can run a TS9 Boss Tuner, all these pedals. I mean, if you're upgrading because of, nuance, not because of need. Um, so the second one would be the Katana Mini, because I always believe that you've got to have a clean boost in there. It's just kind of, in my opinion, essential for playing his stuff. Then this one's kind of a unique one. It's a dual pedal. It's made by Sierra Tone. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. So it's the Horsey Breaker. It's one side Klon and one side Blues Breaker. And I mean, that's a way to stack some overdrives. And then you do the MXR carbon copy for the slapback. So that's a 3-pedal setup that really gives you clean boost in 2 drives and a delay. And they're high quality. I mean, I see people with great rigs running the Horsey Breaker, Horse Breaker, and the carbon copy. So I think that's a good 3-pedal solution. It's missing a tube screamer. Couldn't get that in for $400, but that could be a really good kind of entry mayor rig as well. So
I love where you're going with that and your basis on get some good stuff that's going to last you, because that's exactly what I kind of did with my rigs, especially the lower end ones. So for my low budget of $400, first off, I recommended the TC Spark. It's a clean boost. It's not really quite in the vein of the Katana, but it's cheap enough to facilitate the rest of the build, and it's something that you can use for a while. The next pedal I chose was the Ibanez Tube Screamer Mini. As you mentioned, it's an option. You're not a fan of mini pedals. It doesn't really matter to me too much. Of course, I prefer something bigger, but budget-wise, the TS Mini is cheaper, and it sounds bloody good. So why not? Third pedal that I chose, because I wanted another overdrive, was actually the Tone City Durple, Danish Pete's signature Tone City pedal. This is again a lower end style pedal, but every demo I've heard of it, it sounds incredible. For if you stack the Tube Screamer Mini into the Durple, you're going to get a really saturated, overdriven tone, kind of like Mayer's, Belief high gain intro tone or the outro for slow dancing. You're going to get some of those stacking those 2 pedals even with the Spark as well. So that's the overdrive section for the low budget that I chose. Then next, the 2 pedals that are coming up are ones that will last you your entire Mayer building fanatic craze, your career. I wanted to recommend the Way Huge Aquapus MK3, the smaller one. It doesn't look as good as the big box one, but it's cheaper and it's going to do that slapback delay. The next pedal I recommended was the T-Rex Replay Box. Now this pedal is interesting because for a delay with tap tempo, it's relatively cheap, and it also was used briefly by John on his 2019 touring rig. So in the low budget, you're getting a pedal that John himself was using a year ago, and it's going to be something that'll last you till the end of time, hopefully. So the budget my total for the low budget ended up costing $391 all in, again based off of used prices on Reverb, but if you go look up everything on there, you should be able to get it for just under $400 American.
That's I like that. So yeah, and price is subject to change. This year's been nuts for gear. It's good. I like the different approach with the delays. The Spark was interesting. I hadn't played it. I actually thought about it because I was researching clean boosts, and then I just didn't know if it did the same type thing. But it seems like it's a great value. It's like what, $48 or something US. So
It's stupidly cheap.
400 might sound like a lot, but hey, you're building it. You don't have to buy it all at one time. You work towards it, and when you're done with it, you buy the Ibanez Tube Screamer TS9 for $65. When you go to sell it, you're going to get all of $65 back. So, it's not a bad hobby. So I'll just throw that out there.
No, it's perfect.
How about you kick off the $800 one? You go first.
Me start the $800 budget? Okay, medium budget of $800. So this one is a fun one, and I feel like with $800 for 5 pedals, you can get 5 great pedals that you won't ever need to upgrade. Like you mentioned before, if you're upgrading stuff at this point even, it's just because you want to get the thing he has on his board, or you just want to be 10-15% closer to his tone. For the medium budget, the first pedal I chose was the Way Huge Conspiracy Theory. I'm a massive fan of George Tripp's. He's a genius. He makes phenomenal pedals. And Josh Scott recently came out and said that the Conspiracy Theory is his favorite clone. that's currently made. And that's a pretty huge recommendation. Why not go with that? That's all you really need to know for a recommendation from Josh. That's a great pedal. The next one I chose is your out-of-the-box Ibanez TS808, used by John in the Trio, through into Continuum a little bit, and some of that Tour. Obviously, he used a vintage, but this is a reissue, and it's going to sound very damn well near the same. And it's a great pedal. Again, you don't need to upgrade the Ibanez TS808. The next pedal that I chose, and this is kind of one of my favorite things about Maritone. A lot of people really like a clean boost, your overdrive one, and a tube screamer, and then a delay for slapback, and then you can kind of play around with stuff from there. Lately, in the past year or so, especially after the 2019 tour concluded, I became a massive fan of a third overdrive. Usually more of a Dumble, higher gain style pedal that you push with the tube screamer and even that first overdrive, whether it be in a Klon or a blues breaker or whatever. And then you get that massively saturated solo tone from like the big outros or big intros or whatever. But I've become a massive fan of that style for John. For the medium budget, the third pedal I chose was the Wampler Euphoria. This is one of the best Dumble style pedals on the market. I've played it and it absolutely blew me away. One of my really good buddies owns one and it sounds incredible. Disclaimer, no Dumble style pedal is going to make your amp sound like a Dumble. No pedal is going to do that. This right here is a Zen Drive 2. One of the original ones with the tube in it. They have never reissued this. This does not make any amp sound like a Dumble. None of them will. So I don't want people to hear when I say I'm recommending a Dumble style pedal called the Euphoria that they're going to think that it's going to drastically change their amp, because it's not. So I just wanted to make a disclaimer of that because I am not a believer that pedals do that, in my opinion. So
yeah, and when we're on that little tangent there, I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, it's not fair to say that you're going to turn any Fender amp into, a 100-watt wall of sound that's going to be stiff, immediate. What you're going to do is and you can get the same thing out of an EQ pedal and a compressor. So they're just changing the EQ curve, but it's not going to ever make the feel the same. You're never going to replicate the feel, and that's not going to say you're not going to get a good tone. You will be able to, but yeah, I appreciate that disclaimer.
But the main point for these pedals is how they overdrive, and it's so beautiful. And the way they work and sound is phenomenal. So that's what's great about a Dumble style pedal. Not that it's going to transform your amp. Again, it's my opinion. You might think it does. I don't think any Dumble style pedal will. And like I said, I have arguably the best one ever made. And it doesn't make my Milkman sound like a Dumble. So just going to throw that out there. Okay, so going back to the medium budget, sorry about the tangent. Way Huge Conspiracy Theory, Ibanez TS808, Wampler Euphoria. Next, again, two more delay pedals that are going to last you forever. I'm sticking with the Aquapus Mark III, the small one. Why not? And then instead, we're bumping up to another T-Rex delay, but let's go for the T-Rex replica, the one John used with the Trio. Arguably my favorite era ever. It's a great sounding delay, has tap tempo again. These were going for quite a lot on reverb on the used market, and they kind of had a weird bump for a while, and they've slowly started coming down. So I've seen them as listed for as much as 600 Canadian, and then like a week later, I'll see one pop up listed for 200. So this is a pedal that the price point hasn't really settled in terms of what people ask, but I believe you can get it into this sort of budget. So I wouldn't spend more than a few $100s on that delay pedal for sure. So don't overpay. Know what things are worth. Google the reverb price history of sold listings, because that is a huge secret that not a lot of people know. Go on Reverb, click show all sold listings, and you can see what they sell for. So don't overpay for anything, please, people. But yeah, that's my medium budget. Conspiracy Theory, TS808, Wampler Euphoria, Aquapus Mark III, and T-Rex Replica.
That's solid. I did look at the replica too, and I was surprised. I was pulling it up like, wait, these prices have gone down. I used to want one back in the day, and they were so pricey. So you talking about that Dumble style pedal? There is one pedal that, and I own it, and it's actually pretty amazing. But
I know exactly which
you,
pedal you're gonna say. I
you
know
know
it.
which one I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
the J Rocket Archer, the Dude. It's stupid. It really sounds like you're stacking a Klon into a tube screamer, and it's that's what it sounds like. And I've ran it through and it does compress, and it has so much bottom end control. I just don't need it given my amp setup. It's kind of redundant for me with the two rocks, but yeah, that's for that. You can get that one for $150. That's one of the most under the radar solid pedals that you can get. And shoot, it has a lot of gain, so you could run that with a delay, and you can get a Mayer tone out of it on its own. It's got so much gain on tap. So
I think that's a huge part with the Dumble style pedals too, is that the way they sound and the way that's kind of what I meant by they overdrive beautifully, is that you don't necessarily need to even stack them to get that kind of higher gain
yeah,
singing overdrive. That's what they
yeah.
do so well, and that's why I love them, and that's what I personally think they do.
Yeah, and I owned a Zen Drive back in the day, and I sold it for like nothing, and now they're so expensive. You've got one back there. I think for the money, the Dude is the best for the $150. I don't see another Dumble style for that cheap that you can get.
No, the Euphoria isn't terribly expensive, but it's not
How
that
much
cheap.
is that one? Yeah, Jake.
195 American for the
Okay.
Euphoria.
Yeah, so it's maybe
So
40, $50 more. So that's still a good price. But
it is. It's insanely competitive for, again, like I said, how good it actually sounds. It's a great deal and a great pedal.
segueing into my $800, 5 pedal rig, I'm going to run a Katana. And sometimes they vary in price. The V1s are they're all over the place, but you can get not a V1, but you can get, a normal white one, full size with the charge pump for $230. So, I think that's pretty much every Mayer board I've seen has a Katana on there. So that's $230. I would go with a Seriatone Centura. I've played that. I personally like the KTR better, but those are 650 now, 700. I don't even know. Maybe 550. So I'd get that. That's 250. Looks like a Klon. It's cool. Sounds fine. Does the Klon thing well. Looks way cooler than the Archer Icon because it looks like a real Klon. I'm switching it up on the Tube Screamer. I'm going to go with a Maxon OD808. And if you want to nerd out, you can go on the who's Analog Man. He's got a breakdown of that. It's more similar to a TS10 than anything that Ibanez makes right now. And you can get one for about $110. It's not a TS10. They sound good, and they're great pedals. As far as delay goes, I'm going to go Aquapus MK2. I've got a couple of those, and I just like the bigger footprint. It looks like the V1. I don't know. There's some people that say that the 3 and the 2 sound different. I've seen John use the 2. He's used the 1. He probably would use the 3. He probably has used the 3.
I don't think I've ever seen him use the 3 yet.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but as far as I know, he's only ever used the Mark II in place, and that's been on smaller boards, like playing with Shawn Mendes or doing when he's doing
Alex
current
Benjamin
mood
or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Or like current mood, he'll have like a small rig, and the MK2 will be on it. If he's really serious about his gig or it's on tour, it's still going to be them. Actually, no. 2017 World Tour was I believe an MK2 for a bit of it.
I love it. And so here's a crazy thing. Again, I just don't believe what people say all the time unless I play it for myself. There's certain people that I'll trust, and if I hear a demo, but to me, it's a slapback delay. If it's a little brighter, a little warmer, I can EQ the rest of my rig. It's there for a purpose. I'm not worried about it. I want it to look the same. I think they're probably going to go up in value too. You can get them for $100 right now. They don't make them anymore. They made them for a decade, so there's plenty out there. But at some point, the prices are going to creep up a little bit. And then so on this one, I said, let me go 2 delays, one slap back, one longer delay. So I picked for a budget constraint for that second delay, you have more delay time available. So I just went with the Boss DD3T or whatever. It's about 110 used. Boss makes quality stuff. It's pretty boring as far as the delay goes. But I wanted to focus on that's the piece that you can upgrade later. Everything else you don't need to touch. The Katana is fine. Centura is fine. OD808 and Aquapus. Those are pedals you never need to upgrade ever again. You're good. And then that last delay, you could throw on something fancier down the road. So that's what I went with.
Yours was really good.
Well, thanks. No, I like it. We have some different choices there, and yeah, I'm going to explore the pedal realm more. And you and Jake both, like, check this out. I'm like, no, stop. I don't want to hear more.
I don't need to spend more money. And I love that we haven't so far had a duplicate.
Yeah, that's true.
Not one pedal that we've picked on both has been even said once from the other. So that's pretty cool.
That's about to change.
We'll see. So, Ahmad, how about you then? Let's just keep going. How about you talk about your high budget?
So the $1,500 category, I'm going Katana V1. I think it's a staple. Then I'm going for the Klon. I'm going the KTR. I've shot out the Archer Icon, which great pedal, the Serotonin Centura, which I played Brian's, and the KTR. I like the KTR more. The KTR and the Archer Icon, they have I don't know if it's more gain and again, I'm prefacing this, I played 3 pedals. Each pedal has different pot values, and I don't want to nerd out. They're all more similar than they are different. But the KTR to me was the best sounding. It has like a stiffer feel when you play it, but it feels organic. It's got rich overtones, and it's made by the guy that made the Centaur. So yeah, I'm lucky to own one, and they're not discontinued. I mean, they're discontinued because I have one for sale. I'm kidding. They're not discontinued, and they're a great pedal. So I went with that. And that, if you can find someone, and they've spiked a little bit more since I put this list together, but if you can find one for $550, then you're in shape for this budget. If you're really lucky, you can snag one at retail, which is $270, but good luck. Then I'm actually going to go for my Tube Screamer. I'm going to go different. I'm going to go King Tone Soloist. I would have gone Duelist, but I can't fit it into the budget here. And with the rest of my pedals, I owned a Soloist. I own a Duelist still. I owned a Soloist for a period of time. It's the best Tube Screamer that's on the market today. And you can't argue that point with me because the thing has more gain on tap. It's got a body control where you can adjust the bottom end. It's got 3 modes. It's got a standard, which if you set it right, you can get it pretty close. It's not going to be identical to a TS10, but it's a smooth overdrive, stacks well, has high headroom, quality built, hand built, handmade. Then it's got this edge control, which can hit some Stevie Ray Vaughan type stuff. And then there's the, what's the other one called? Glass, which is a little more treble. And I used it on normal the most. I really like that pedal. I got it as part of a trade, but I own a Duelist, just half the side of the Duelist, a little bit redundant. So I moved it on. But that's what I would choose for my Tube Screamer. Fantastic pedal. Great pedal. And then I'm sticking with the Octopus MK2. That's a staple of a mayor board, and it just looks cool. And then it's also for non-guitar playing people. I mean, think about how cool it is to see your board and like, what the heck is an Octopus? It just sounds like some, 007 Bond villain from back in the day. Like, you're fighting an Octopus. So that's the Delay 1. Delay 2, full disclosure, I've not played this pedal, but I want it really bad. It's the Free the Tone Delay.
Flight Time?
Yep. Flight Time. Yeah, it's Jake's been touting it, and I've talked to you about it, and I think I need to move some stuff to get one. It looks super cool, and their stuff's high quality, and that pedal, it takes me $15 over the budget, so I'm at $15.15. And I figured I'd switch it up. It's a little bit, it's a mayor board, but it gives you a little bit more flexibility than just that too.
Well, I like that, and Jake was talking to me about the Flight Time too and how it's modeled after the 2290 delay, which is a really sought after delay, and if probably the next delay I'm going to get is going to be the Flight Time as well, so that's an incredibly solid recommendation. No, all great choices. I know the Soloist is easily, like you say, arguably the best Tube Screamer on the market right now. It's a phenomenal pedal. And I guess me now, high
I'm
budget.
interested in this now. I want to hear these.
So high budget of $1,500. I wanted to get the best bang for your buck in terms of the range of things you can do. Because up until this point, I've at least talked about drives and delays. In fact, that's all I've talked about is drives and delays. So I wanted to change some things up a little bit. So first pedal is going to be the exotic XW1 wah pedal. The last wah pedal you'll ever need. And Mod, you can't argue that because I got you to buy it and you were never a wah guy, and all of a sudden you're like, dude, this pedal's your text me. You're like, this pedal's awesome. It's so good.
I'm kind of mad I didn't pick that one now. Yeah, that's solid. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't necessarily go to a wah pedal and think Mayer, but Good Love is on the way from the days of the trio and Where the Light Is. Wah pedal used on that. 2019, he was doing it on Belief. He was also, there was a couple of
Rosie.
versions. He did Rosie as well, and he did it with Helpless, I think, a few solos as well. It's there when he needs it. But the exotic XW1 wah, last wah pedal you'll ever need. I love that thing to death, and if I ever need another wah for a board and I don't want to take that one off, I'll just buy another one. That's where I'm at with it because it's so good. The next pedal is a pedal that's become very dear to my heart, and that is the Nordvang Gravity. And again, I wanted to kind of cheekily throw a 2-in-1 in because with this, it's 5 pedals, but this is the only drive pedal that I'm recommending, but you're getting 2 overdrives. Set the Klon for a boost or set it for a lighter crunch style, your standard regular overdrive one, into the Tube Screamer. It does get you that heavy saturated tone because there is more gain on tap with these pedals as well. So you can kind of set them to do the Mayer thing and also kind of push into high gain when you stack them together. So that's pedal number 2. Third pedal I'm recommending is a genre of pedals that I never was a fan of, to be quite honest, until again, probably this past year. It's the New Neighbor Inspire. John used it for majority of the 2019 World Tour. It replaced the Chase Bliss Warped Vinyl Hi-Fi and then was replaced by the Free the Tone Tri-Avatar Chorus. It's the one he used for the longest. Ryan Lopez, a good friend of ours, he has it and absolutely loves it. And for John's tone, I never really thought it was a big deal, but chorus, when you think about it, the way he's been using it lately, it's been a flavor on almost, I say 50% of all the outro solos he's doing live, if you look on the 2019 tour, they had chorus on for that solo. And he's just using it super subtly, but it's there. And it kind of adds just a thickness and just a different dynamic to his tone. So I'm now of kind of the thinking where if I look at a John board, I'm like, where's the chorus? Because he uses that a lot now, at least. Before it was never a big deal. We're talking 2019, and that's arguably, again, between that and the trio, my 2 favorite eras. So that's where I went for the third pedal. Like you, this is our first duplicate. I chose the Aquapus Mark II because I could fit it in the budget. Lastly, some of my favorite delays ever made. I chose the Providence Chrono delay, the DLY4. This one here, the pink one with tap tempo or an A-B split. That one fit in the budget, and it's a great digital delay. Has some analog characteristics, kind of like the Chase Bliss pedals where it's analog drive-through, and it sounds great. I love it. It's a phenomenal delay pedal. So the total for this one, if you, again, with the grain of salt, but my totals were 1457. So 1457.
I think this is, you beat me very handily here, and here's why. Looking at it again, I used $550 on a KTR. And when you do the Gravity, I want to hear it for myself. I want to play it. You know, that's $550, and you're getting the Klon and the Tube Screamer side in there. So that one gives you the 2-in-1, and I love that freaking wah pedal. Dude, I'm not a wah guy, but that thing is so fun. The reason I'm not a wah guy, and the reason I like John's tone so much, everything he does is to take out that shrill ice pick from the tone, which growing up, I don't like Fender amps. I can't stand Fender amps. I like them, but I can't stand them. And it's the ice pick. I don't want to have to roll down my tone and all of this other stuff. So the wah pedal, you know what I'm talking about. I played a wah pedal through a Fender amp, and you go down, and it's just like, oh, my ears are going to die. So the exotic wah, it's got those, I mean, you can control sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but
No, no, this is what we're here for.
Yeah, you can control the sweep of the wall. You can control the gain, which I don't even understand. You can control the bass, and you can control the treble. So I set mine to where I don't have a bass drop off when I click it on, and I roll a little bit of the high end off. And even at noon, it's less ice pick than a normal wah. So you could even crank it up. It's smaller and it's built like a tank. So the
Yeah.
fact that you have that on there with a chorus, with not sacrificing the drives, that's some versatility.
They're all pedals John has literally used, except for the Gravity, which it's two pedals that he has used, and it's extremely heavily inspired. One of the best pedals, one of the best looking pedals on the
Oh,
market
it's
today.
gorgeous. And
The way
I
it,
messaged him. I need to message him again, but I was asking him about the circuit, and he said there's a setting on it where, you can make it compress more or less to be more open. And I want compression out of my TS10, so that was encouraging to hear. So I'll at some point have to check it out, and I can A and B it with the KTR and the TS10 and see. I haven't seen a good A and B comparison that I would put stock in. So maybe I'll just do it. I think if you could get white knobs on it, I feel like that would just be sweet too. It's just I love the color of the what is that, like gray with the blue? It's gorgeous.
well,
So
it's designed to look exactly like the Continuum album.
oh, well, that makes sense. Okay.
It's almost like he took the eyedropper tool in Photoshop and eyedropped the gray and then the blue and the white, and then that's
Makes sense.
exactly
Okay.
exactly like the version of Continuum.
And I've become a little bit of a snob when it comes to pedals. Theoretically, like when they do those, what is it, SMD?
Yeah.
They sound fine and the part values are the same, but there's something cool about a hand built pedal, and to me, it just feels like it's better, even though it's probably not. So I try to have those. Like I just got the Snouse black box, and that's apparently handmade. So I admire that. I'm gonna check it out. I want to mess with it. I want to mess with the knobs and see. So that'll maybe come at some point. So sorry, we went off on a huge tangent.
These high budgets might seem like they're crazy that we're recommending, but you also are getting what you pay for. Whether it's build quality, customer support, design, you are getting what you pay for.
And I know some people that use those pedals as a way to save. Like, think about this. This is a unique. There was a thread a while back on the group where someone was asking, you guys have, in the group, there's a ton of cool gear. How did you guys accumulate it all? And I mean, I didn't get my gear overnight. You didn't get your gear overnight. What's fun, you know, and I'm a nerd when it comes to money, but I'm like, okay, I don't have cable TV, so then I'll save I'm a weird guy, but I'll save that every year. That's boom, that's $1,200. So it's like, that's going into my guitar fund every month. So anything I can cut expenses on stuff I'd otherwise spend on, I throw that into a guitar fund. Well, shoot, if you can buy a pedal every month or every 2 months, well, then you get a cool delay. You get to mess around with it. You buy a Gravity, they're what, 550 or 5 or 450, whatever. I don't know the price, but you play it. If you decide to sell it, I mean, your worst case scenario on it is you lose reverb fees. Then you turn that into other gear. So I know of people that have enough pedals now that they can just sell off a chunk of pedals and go buy a two rock. So I'm not going to name any names, but the person that is going to watch this knows exactly what I'm talking about. So that's a way to
There's a
save.
handful of people like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, shoot, you could do that, but you didn't buy them all at one day. You just here and there, you amass a collection, and then you can, you
Yeah.
get your money back. So
And I think this is a great segue into talking about the unlimited budget part because, again, you don't need to go out and buy it right now. If you can wait and find it for a decent price, you got to be quick and jump on it, but you'll save you money in the long run. And so that's something that when we're talking about the next segment, the limited budget, keep that in mind.
but my point is, if you're going to buy a tube screamer, don't go and buy a TS10 for $450 or $500 if that's your budget. When you could go buy the Maxon and something else, you're better out. Your tone's going to be better having a more complete rig. Those hold their value. Flip them later. Don't. There's just I just feel like there's an irrational hype sometimes in the group where people are going overboard. But hey, it's supply and demand. It's their money, and that's why I feel like if you're patient, I wait for a deal. Certain things I'll pay the money for. Why
So,
don't you lead this one off? Yeah, you go for it.
okay. So limited budget within reason. Again, disclaimer: we're not going to go out and pick a Klon. We're not going to pick up a Octopus Mark One, a Cornish NG2, or a TES. We wanted to kind of still stick with stuff you can readily go out and obtain with some ease and not kind of breathe. As I'm saying this, my rig is going to start to get into the bit of unobtainium area for mirror gear, but not on the level of a Klon or a Mark One Octopus. So my first pedal that I chose is one of my favorite pedals ever made. John does own this pedal. I haven't seen him use it, but he has commented underneath the announcement post being like, proud owner. I'll throw up the screen grab right now. And that is the Broadcast AP Ariel
Wait, John owns
Posen's.
that? Really?
Yeah. Right now in the editing, I'll have a comment where Ariel's announcing the launch of it and John's saying proud owner. So I think Ariel sent him one because they're kind of guitar buddies, sent him one before it released. But yeah, so I'd recommend this as a clean boost slash whatever you want it to be. I sent you actually a demo comparing this to my Centura for just some light crunch on like, think of like a helpless tone. And you and I both preferred the Broadcast AP over the Centura. It's a phenomenal sounding pedal. You can dial it to be a clean boost, very, very similar to the Katana, or you can even go inside and adjust things in settings and open up the amount of gain even more. I've never done it, but you can go crazy. You can pretty much turn that thing into a fuzz. It can be a fuzz and sound insane. So for one pedal that has such a wide range and it's amazing, it's for a clean boost or kind of a fuzzy, crunchy overdrive, I highly recommend it to anyone who likes that kind of Mare sound. Or, hey, you gotta love the REO sound, at least one of my favorite guitar sounds out there too.
And I'm a little salty that I missed that limited edition colorway. That's so, like, seeing it there, I'm like, man, that looks good. And now it's gone. And you sent it to me, so it's my own fault. So
Yeah, I had to have it. I have the I got the original one, the very first run of the standard model. But when I met Ariel, he signed it. So I can't. I don't want to use it now because I don't want to stomp on it and then right underneath where my foot's going is his signature.
Right.
So I always wanted to get another one just for one I use, and that one just to be a really cool personal memento for me. And then they came up with this one that looks like his Mulecaster. It was over. I was like, all right, well, I got to get it now. Yeah. So first pedal, Broadcast AP, made by Hudson Electronics out of the UK. Amazing pedal. And now, as of when we've started filming this last week, they announced that you can now find it at dealers in Canada and the US, which was huge because up until now, it was an Andertons exclusive. Pedal number 2 is going to be, again, the Nordvane Gravity. Now you have a clean boost to stack with the Nordvane Gravity. For a drive tone, you could long for a Dumble style pedal afterwards, but I wanted to have a kind of wider range, and you can't go wrong with the Gravity 2-in-1 again, so I'm kind of squeezing in a second pedal into the 5 limit. The next pedal is a pedal that hopefully will be out. I'm hoping it's out by the time this releases in mid-January. It's the Tone Geek Mark I Octopus Clone. Now, a good friend of the lounge and ours is Ryan Colgan. He has made a few different clones. He's built Steel String Singer amps, and he recently released his TS10 clone, which is hugely popular. Sounds virtually identical. Like blindfolded, you couldn't tell a difference. He's shown the EQ curve; it's identical, just better parts and everything, and a bit more options, kind of like the Soloist. So he's now building
a little bit better too.
Built a lot better. He's building now a Mark I Octopus clone. He's gone with the schematics, had an Octopus Mark I believe, in person, building it. Don't quote me on that, Ryan. But he's planning for an early January release of that pedal. I ballparked that into what my total is going to be. I don't want to speak to what I think it's going to be, but he said it's going to be cheaper than a Mark I Octopus, and it's going to be a lot easier to get. So pedal number 3 is Tone Geek Mark I Octopus clone, for sure. Next, I chose one delay, and that's the Delay 80s from Providence, the purple one. This is the pedal that I was talking about where you're starting to get into the unobtainium a little bit. It's not impossible to find, but it is extremely difficult. There's only a few people I know who own one of these. They are extremely hard to find and buy, but I do recommend it, and if you're patient, one will show up. So maybe I broke the rules on this, maybe I didn't, but I wanted to save the Delay 80s. It's my favorite delay ever made. Very close to the TES delay. TES is probably better at doing the TES thing because that's what it's modeled on, but anyways, was that. Last pedal, again, being chorus. With now an unlimited budget, I couldn't fit this pedal into the high budget of $1,500, so now I wanted to choose the Free the Tone Tri-Avatar. Looks amazing. It's built by Free the Tone, one of my favorite builders. What more to say? So total around $2,000 is what you're going to be looking at. Budgeting and market value for some of the pedals, and that's probably what you're going to spend. So Broadcast AP, Nordvane Gravity, Tone Geek Octopus Mark I clone, Providence Delay 80s, Free the Tone Tri-Avatar. It's my unlimited.
That's a solid list. I like what you did. I think your selections kind of you overtook me. My budget ones might be solid, but that's the thing that's good about talking about gear, because you kind of open up your world with pedals that you didn't even know existed. For my unobtainium, within reason rig, you actually changed my mind. I didn't consider the Broadcast AP. I had just the go ahead and get the V1 Katana. But yeah, I mean, you can't buy that V1 Katana anymore. They're not handmade anymore. Yeah, Broadcast AP. It could do the clean boost to crunch thing. Yeah, that clip you sent me, I really did prefer it, and I was actually pretty surprised. So yeah, I'll change my answer. You want a traditional Mayer board, get the Katana V1. But if you want a more versatile pedal, the Broadcast AP is awesome. So that would be number one. Number two, I just love the KTR. I think it's cool. You can't go and buy a Centaur. What are they, $5,000 now? Yeah, there's something cool about having it on your board. I have a Klon. I have something that the actual creator of it made, and to me, not only is it that, to me, it sounds awesome. I love it. Then I'm going TS10 or the Duelist. And the reason I wouldn't say Gravity here is because I already have the KTR. That's a little bit redundant on the Klon side. Reason I like the Duelist, and I can get into that. The Duelist is a far better overall pedal. It's got I don't think the second side sounds like a blues breaker, but it's a fat, compressed, high gain. Jake Loosemore put me onto that pedal. Probably one of the best drive pedals on the market. It's handmade, awesome. It's just awesome. So you got the first side is the Tube Screamer side. It's a soloist essentially, and then that. So I probably would go with that dual drive. Then I'm going to go with a pedal I haven't played. These last two I have not played, but I want both of them. And I've heard enough from Jake and from yourself about them that I want them. One of them is the Free the Tone Chorus, which is one that you had in there. Plus, all their stuff just looks really cool. And then for the delay, the Providence 85 delay, because Jake can't stop shutting up about that pedal. And the clips sound amazing. And that's one option, or the other option is the Free the Tone delay. So it's not maybe the most versatile, but those are kind of the pinnacle of each respective category or genre.
I totally agree with you, and it's funny that but maybe that's the way it was always meant to be, is that once we got near the higher and higher end, which is what would you personally have, that's where we started to overlap a little bit and have more duplicates, because when your budget starts to get wider and wider open, you don't want to compromise on certain things and aspects. And
my new thing with pedals, I feel like I've got a pretty decent Mayer focused rig. I want to find other pedals that pretty much anything and he does it with watches, anything that he basically signs off on, price goes up. He has the power to move an entire market. Because why? I mean, I think it's justified. He's that discriminating and discerning he's got a very sophisticated palate. So if he's picking it, it means it's good, you know,
Yeah.
and it takes the guesswork. You know, if there's a pedal on his board, you can just recommend it. It's going to be good. I want to find the stuff that he's testing out now before he does that. I feel like would give me some secret satisfaction. It's like if I find some pedal, that I'm like, yo, guys, this is awesome. You need to check this out. And then it ends up on his board. I'd probably feel very justified in life.
Well, Ahmad, I think that was great. Hopefully that gave everyone a rough idea of what you and I would personally recommend. Like I said, handed budgets of 4, 8, 1500, and then unlimited within reason to purchase 5 pedals. What would we do? And I think we've both said throughout the video that this is, but I just want to recap. We both have said that we might not necessarily go about it this way by setting a budget and you have to get 5 right now. Put that money towards stuff that you can slowly build up to. Maybe instead of a low budget of 400 for 5 pedals, get 2 or 3 or 4. But maybe get less is what I'd actually recommend. But we thought 5 would be, for the sake of this challenge as well, enough to build you an awesome board that, hey, you can grab and go, and you're not going to be out there playing a gig or playing with people being like, oh no, I don't have a delay for this, or I don't have something. Your options are at least open enough that it's a board that can do a lot and not leave you hanging.
Yeah, and it covers the mayor ground. And I think, let us know. I mean, if we missed something or if you would have done something different, you can leave a comment.
Yeah,
And,
comment down below what you would do for one or all 4 of them. It'd be great for other people to see other opinions and discuss and debate in the comments what we did, if you would change something, if you liked what we said, or recommended, because there's no real right or wrong answer. These are just 2, I believe, very informed opinions for this specific topic and what we would personally recommend.
Yeah, and I think it's safe to say, Justin, anything we have on the list today, you buy it, you're not going to have, you're not going to end up with junk. You can actually, I've seen some videos online where they're like, oh, this is what you should do on a budget. I'm like, I wouldn't do it that way. There's nothing on either one of our lists where I'd say, nope, that's trash. I disagree. So I think these are very safe recommendations with fairly realistic price points. If we're doing a $200 price point,
You're
I would
not
argue
going to get 5.
you're not going to get 5.
Unless you're doing all Amazon originals.
Yep. Yeah, and I don't like to go below a certain point. All of our stuff is quality. And then that leads us to future probably conversations about how everything interacts. What's more important? If you're faced with a decision, I've got $1,500 total. Do I put it all on my board and keep my my Yamaha solid state amp, or should I spend that on an amp and get $400 pedals? And we could talk about our opinions, amp, speakers, the chain, guitar, what matters, what percentage, but that's another conversation. So
Another conversation. Well, I think that wraps up everything for the budgets, hey? For this episode.
Thanks for having me on. This was fun. I actually liked and I think it was good for the people too. So
Yeah, it was fun and something kind of different. So everyone, again, as always, if you stayed with us this long, we really appreciate it. Appreciate the support and everything, and hope you guys enjoy it. Again, please leave a comment down below, discuss what you would do, what you would change, what you agreed with, and we shall see you on the next episode of the John Mayer Gear Lounge Show. Until then, take care, everyone. Ahmad, it was a pleasure as always, my friend.
likewise. Thanks, my guy.